they need to be way more clear when they are attacking military targets so that people don't think that they're just doing a genocide of the Palestinian people. That's a first. She's trying to be chill. One of the things that is unbelievable to me is the complete rejection of impartiality on any issue. Essentially, nobody wants you to actually educate yourself on the conflict, right? What they want you to do is they want you to educate yourself on their side of the conflict. Let's see what that Katee
I thought he was gonna transfer me.
Has to say.
No, you joined it too.
Yeah.
All right, just a quick update on my biases going into this. Obviously, I agree with Destiny on a great deal of things. Not everything, but on a great deal of things. And I hate Katee. I think that she is one of the most disingenuous actors in the entire Twitch/YouTube politics streaming space. I think that she is one of the most condescending and openly dishonest people in the space. I think that she is in terms of her personal actions towards me, a massive piece of shit. And I do not like her very much whatsoever. I do not think that she is a good person. I do not think that she is a good, political mind, if that's the nicest way I could say that. I think that she will say her position, and then she will immediately, upon you restating her position back to her, change her position and say that was not her position, and then restate the original position again with slight wording changes, but without changing what the actual substance of the take is. I do not think that Katee is a honest person, and I think that she is a very openly I don't know if propagandist would be the correct word, but it's probably pretty close on that. You should watch the Corantos panel with Prime. I watched it in my free time, and I am surprised at how one of the things that's really, really disappointing about all of this is seeing how radical. I mean, I don't like Prime either, but that's for far more personal reasons, right? Me and him can have disagreements on politics, and that's fine. But I have personal issues with Prime. One of the things that is unbelievable to me is the complete rejection of impartiality on any issue, essentially. Nobody wants you, I said this a little bit at the beginning of the stream, but nobody wants you to actually educate yourself on the conflict, right? What they want you to do is they want you to educate yourself on their side of the conflict. And this happens for both Palestinian side and the Israeli side, let's be clear. But when it comes to this online space, the people that are saying educate yourself are overwhelmingly on the Palestinian side. Just to tell you why I focus more on criticizing them, right? Number one, we see more of that in the space that we're in. And number two, the younger generations are becoming increasingly radicalized to... It's disconnected again. Are we back? Are we streaming? Marco? YouTube, are we back? Kick, are we back? Marco, I can hear you now. Thank you. Anything from Kick? You guys still alive over there? Polo? Okay. Yeah, so people do not want you to educate yourself on the totality of the events, right? I've taken a little bit of Destiny's lead, and I've read through a lot of the Wikipedia on Israel and some of the side articles. I have a much less time than Destiny does to just sit there and read through the entirety of the you know, ever branching articles that come out of looking at the Israeli conflict on Wikipedia. So I'll just like give you that little piece right there. I'm not super educated on it, but I can give you what like the general takes are and what like the barriers to forward action are. That is like the biggest thing for me. Like what are your alternatives for this, right? Why are we focusing only on why this side is making is making extremists, right? Why is this side radicalized? Why is that side radicalized? Right? Like those are the things that are most interesting to me, to see why people only want to focus on why, Hamas exists. Why is it that you only want to focus on why Hamas is radicalized, why, the Palestinians are radicalized, et cetera, et cetera? Why don't you want to focus on, why Israel is taking these actions that you find to be so abhorrent, right? Do you think that they're just evil Jews? Like what is the actual reason? So I'm not like super educated on literally every treaty, literally every war, literally every player involved, right? And I'm open about that. But I think that I know enough to have a general take that Israel probably needs to chill the out on all the settlements. Israel probably needs to be way more clear and open on at least some of their strikes in a way that won't destroy their ability to have information superiority over the terrorist groups that attack them, right? So that they can maintain the good graces of people in the world. Because, while I think that for the most part, they are able to point at, hey, there are some missile pods here, there are some, tubes over there that are shooting missiles at us, right, out of the civilian building. They need to be way more clear when they are attacking military targets so that people don't think that they're just doing a genocide of the Palestinian people, and so that they can point out how up Hamas is. So the ultimately the problem is that when I see people who I used to either be friends with, or at least respected a lot of their opinions or respected how they got to their opinions on stuff, when it comes to this conflict, it is, you have to only look at our side or you are pro-genocide. You have to look at our side or you are anti-Semitic, right? And there is very little reasonable in between, unless you're talking to just like libs, right? Like center-ish libs or sock dems, because everybody else is insane on this shit, guys. It is actually blackpilling. Again, like I had a huge argument with my older brother over this, and I was surprised at how emotional the conversation got on his end, when I don't really have any emotional I don't have I don't have family in Israel. I don't know anyone that lives in Israel, right? I know Israelis IRL. I know a lot of Jewish people IRL, but I don't know, I haven't obviously spoken to them about this because I feel like that might be a little inappropriate unless they bring it up to me. Yeah, the overwhelming majority of the people that I see telling you to educate yourself on this are people telling you to, hey, look at my side of this. You know me. Well, I don't actually know you, but yes, PZH. Like I know that you're like super you're pro Israel, possibly to a fault. But I would say that you're less insane than the Quibbles for Coffee guy. The Quibbles for Coffee guy is actually crazy. And that's one of the people that I respected before. Like I thought that he was like he's obviously very intelligent, right? And he was very able he still is very capable of arguing his point. But like the radicalism that he's showing in this conflict is just baffling to me. And I think that as I've gotten further away from my like socialist roots that I started off streaming with, I find it harder and harder to sympathize with people over being radicalized. I find it just way more PZH is in in YouTube chat, Philosophical Zombie Hunter. But yeah, I find it very hard to identify or empathize with people who are becoming increasingly radicalized. Like, I think the furthest radicalized person that I can identify with, and I want to talk to him, but I don't know if he's actually willing to talk or if he's actually not a good person. I don't know yet, because I haven't seen too much of his content. I've seen him on one panel and on Twitter. It's the oh shit, I don't even know what his name is. Oh yeah. Karl Max, who shows up on Wick's show, right? Karl Max, he debated Short Fat Otaku, and I thought, damn, this kid reminds me of me at his age, right? He doesn't have like a super strong grounding in the he doesn't have a super strong grounding in the socialism stuff, but he seems to want a better life for everyone. He he's willing to concede on some stuff, but unwilling to concede on stuff that are ideological, but like he's obviously wrong on or uneducated on when it comes to like economics. That was me in 2020 through like mid to late 2021 on stream, right? Like someone who meant very well, but was part of a online extremist group of lefties, right? Now, not like a militant extremist group, right? And I didn't see myself as extremist, right? And he doesn't see himself as extremist, but like that's what socialists are in this day and age that we live in. But everybody else, like, they've just gone full crazy with it, where they're willing to justify the actions of anyone on their side, even if they're wholly unjustifiable, whether it be Hamas or whether it be people in America like doing some sort of protest or like doxing or life ruination tactics, anything like that. There's like zero principles with any of these people, which just is super disappointing, right? Whether it's Prime saying that there are, what was the exact quote? Someone quoted it earlier. Depends on what you mean by settler. Yeah. And he was meaning like literally anyone in Israel is a settler, rather than, the obvious take that there are settlers in the West Bank and they are the like biggest unjustifiable thing, and like easily identifiable unjustifiable thing that the Israelis do. But econ takes, so true, that is you. Not anymore. I feel like I'm much more educated than I used to be on econ. Although like I'll fully admit when I'm either out of my depth on a conversation or I am in a field of economics that I've just never heard of. So I think people should be willing to say, I don't know a lot more.
It took me a minute. I was just staring at the screen. And it's like, why is he not coming? It's like,
please get past the cringe
no,
Katee
he hung
stuff.
up on us. Okay.
Or he hasn't picked up. You need to tell him to click the pickup button here.
Oh, he hasn't. He said, I'm gonna join in 5 minutes. Stall for me. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I linked the schools. And also there's this video from Hassan. Do you want to watch that maybe?
Oh shit. Can someone post the Hassan interview with Piers Morgan in my content suggestions? There was a YouTube comment on the Cenk Uygur Piers Morgan debate on Piers Morgan's show, that they were like, this guy hasn't seen the Hassan, I think that's the same guy, interview. And I had not even heard of it. So if someone could link that, that would be helpful for either later this stream or next stream. Because I don't want to like come off as a huge, just Israel simp, right? Because I'm criticizing Israel all the time, right? Yeah, ask PZH. He doesn't like some of the takes that I have on Israel, all right? And he's very pro-Israel. Ask any person that has watched me, right? I will criticize Israel when it's warranted. So I don't want to come off as like ultra biased or ultra ideologically captured by any one side.
Sure. You can talk to your audience while I watch it and see if I can just cipher out the resources.
Well,
okay. I'll watch this video. Give me a sec.
The Palestinian militant group Hamas has carried out brutal acts of terror.
Yeah, but the criticisms of Israel that you've had, right? PZH, the criticism of Israel that you've said on my stream at least, okay, maybe this is just on my stream, was like, I don't think that we should be allowing any aid into Gaza, okay? That was your criticism of Israel, and that is a hot take, my friend.
Against Israeli civilians, and Israeli and American leaders are always keen to tell us how dangerous and evil Hamas is.
The inhumanity of Hamas.
I have no sympathy for Hamas.
That keep shelling Israel with thousands of rockets and mortar shells.
But what if I told you that Israel helped create Hamas?
That isn't what I said. You said that it was you said that it was fundamentally immoral to offer any kind of aid to people that are trying to kill you. Free stuff to our enemies. Aid is free stuff. That's what I was referring to. Maybe there was some sort of miscommunication between us when we were talking, but when we were talking about free stuff, I was referring to aid. If third party wants to give aid, okay, but it requires Israel allowing that stuff in, okay? We can go back in the VOD and see, but it doesn't matter right now.
I do got a handout. Oh, sorry.
Officially, Hamas, which is the acronym for an Arabic phrase meaning Islamic Resistance Movement, was founded in 1987 at the start of the first Palestinian Intifada, or uprising against the Israeli occupation. But its roots were planted much earlier. The Hamas founder, Sheikh Ahmed Yassin, was a half-blind, disabled Palestinian cleric and member of the Muslim Brotherhood. The Brotherhood had been repressed by the Egyptians in Gaza prior to 1967. But once the Israelis invaded and occupied the Strip, they didn't just turn a blind eye to these Islamists, they encouraged them. See, the Israelis, especially right-wing Israelis, wanted to undermine the power of the dominant Palestinian political force at that time, the nationalist PLO, at the heart of which was the secular Fatah party of Yasser Arafat, their bête noire.
Now, hold on. I want to do a quick little fact check on this. Hamas, let's go to their Wikipedia, because they originally started out as a a charity group that was just like doing schools, doing medical stuff, giving out aid. Okay, now the charity group was in 73. 87 is when they became the militant group. Got it. Oh, did my stream crash? It didn't even give me a notification.
By empowering Sheikh Yassin and the Muslim Brotherhood, Israeli leaders thought they could divide and rule the...
Right, PZH, obviously they're religious Islamists. Islamists? Yeah. What my thing was wondering whether he was referring to, like, they were founded in X date, and that was the, when they were a charity group, which I would take contention with the framing, but I don't take issue with the framing of them being... Hamas, the terror group, in 87.
Occupied Palestinians, play them off against each other, secular nationalists against religious Islamists.
Okay, so before we get too much deeper into this, I already have like a huge problem with a lot of the framing of the video. I understand the message is going to try to sell.
I know. Yeah. That's why I said like I could just watch the video
whoa, hold
find the
on.
resources. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Number one is I don't know. Okay, I'm giving an honest reading of my history so far, and you can tell me if I'm historically inaccurate here. I don't remember hearing anything about the Muslim Brotherhood or Hamas presenting any sort of big threat in Israel at this point in time, but the PLO was absolutely like a terrorist organization presenting a huge threat against Israel and other countries, and will continue to do so in the next few decades. So the idea that like funding Hamas at this point to undermine the PLO was really wrong or not okay, while it's sitting here showing friendly pictures of Arafat when Arafat would go on to be involved in PLO camps that would be trying to overthrow the Jordanian king, right, is a little bit of an insane framing on this, that Arafat is seen like smiling with his fingers up for peace or whatever. The PLO was absolutely not peaceful at this time or in the decades after. So I understand what the video is going for, but I feel like it is dramatically reframing or just relying on the watcher not understanding any of the history at this point in time. But
yes.
Can I keep watching, or do you want to interject something there?
I do.
Go ahead.
So my claim is never going to be, so I don't want to debate what you think terrorism is right now and how we define terrorism. I don't want to talk about that. That's going to be a waste of time. When we talk about like, oh, funding Hamas was bad, what you just said right now, I'm not claiming that. The only thing that I'm trying to establish is that even if you think the PLO were a terrorist organization or whatever,
They were.
The point is, I'm trying to demonstrate
This
that
is
Israel
that Katee.
wanted to.
This is that Katee. I apologize in advance for having to hear her, but we work on getting brain cancer. Yes, we've already gone through all of the biases that I have against Katee at the beginning of this. Allegedly, according to Food Shops, all right, friend of the stream, okay, she is a lot more tolerable and not condescending and not like being a total piece of shit like she usually is. And literally every single debate I've ever seen her in, including with me. So that's why I'm interested to see at least part of this. But my understanding is this is like a 3-hour conversation. We're going to watch a little bit of it. Not that Katee, it's dat Katee. But we might skip around a little bit. We might, she's never a POS. She is a total piece of shit. But when I say she's a piece of shit, that's because of things that she has directly, said or like done to me in interactions. I do not like this person, but I'm willing to listen to someone who disagrees with me politically, if they're being not a total piece of shit.
On purpose, policy-wise, divide Palestinian representatives. Basically.
No. Hold on.
Okay, sorry.
No. Okay. At this point in time, there is no like official Palestinian government or representative. Palestine and their the organizations were still incredibly fractured.
Why am
Arafat
I not
had
dodging?
to fight for the PLO to become recognized as representing the majority of Palestinians. I don't believe they did. Almost certainly not at this particular time period, because they're talking about 67 is 6-day war. Absolutely not at that particular point in time. Any talk of dividing the Palestinians at this point doesn't even.
No. Hamas didn't exist in 67.
Sure, I know, but right now we're talking about funding a guy back in the 6-day war. That's where this started at, because he brought up Israel's invasion of the Gaza Strip.
Did we get the
technically
achievement?
counterfighting in Egypt, etc. But we want to ignore his disfavorable framing there. But during this time, the situation is very, 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 very different. The PLO is not like the family-friendly PLO as part of the PA that it is today, arguably.
Maybe we'll jump over to that one in a minute.
And more terrorist-driven organization back then, and the comparisons I think are not good. But
okay.
I can keep watching. Go ahead.
I did not make the
Sources
video.
support.
You can have whatever critiques you want of the video,
Jesus.
and you can talk about how the PLO or this or that. The only thing that I care about is that across history, Israel has taken actions to intervene with Palestinian representation and trying to divide and conquer, basically.
No, I understand.
Wait,
So
let me
true,
just
a little
complete
bit.
it. I don't care if they tried to do that with one terrorist group and they helped another terrorist group, if that's how you want to define it. I don't care. The point stands regardless.
I understand what you're saying. Hold on. Okay. I don't know if you frame this as an aggressive question or not, but can you talk to me about what like the Palestinians were like in 67?
No.
Okay.
I wouldn't have any.
I understand. That's fine. Totally fine. Okay. So you can tell me if you disagree with any point of this, or bring up stuff. The idea that Israel would try to divide Palestinian peoples or organizations in the 60s just doesn't make any sense. There isn't really a unified Palestinian people. It doesn't make sense.
This is
Egypt. That is absolutely true. What do you mean this
Katee
isn't
is
true?
just
Or what part of that
ill.
isn't true?
What do you mean by unified Palestinian people?
Well, prior to 67.
Oh wait, are you gonna do there were no Palestinian people type stuff?
No, prior to 67, the West Bank was controlled by Jordan, right, Transjordan, and the Gaza Strip was controlled by Egypt, and there was no cohesive unifying aspect that I'm aware of like the Palestinian people. They were talked about a lot by the neighboring Arab countries that were warring against Israel, but I don't believe there was like a cohesive Palestinian identity that
Okay, so you are.
that Israel could undermine at the time. Okay, is there anything that you would like to refute or?
Yeah. When you asked what you asked, I was going to say, obviously I cannot speak about how Palestinians in 47 lived. However, the Palestinian people as an identity, whether they lived under Jordan or Egypt or Israel or whoever I honestly don't. I disagree with your narrative that there wasn't such
Palestinian
an identity.
L organization based
Okay, can you give me an example of an identity, such as a cohesive will expressed by these people, some unifying body or representative, or some cohesive action, or anything
so,
that, yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so if you say, I think there's no people because there isn't a unified body that is representing them, that is not very helpful because, as we just said, there have been many fractured organizations. So, for example, during the British Mandate of Israel, there have been at least 4 Jewish terrorist organizations fighting against the British Mandate. But nobody said there was no cohesive Jewish identity in Israel, and nobody talks about Jews in the under the British Mandate as like not having a cohesive identity.
So I understand what you're saying.
Because there were 4 competing organizations working for the liberation of Jewish people under the British Mandate.
Gotcha. So I'm not familiar with the 4 are. Are you sure you don't mean 3?
There were 4.
Okay. Maybe there were 4. I'm not aware of this. But insofar as the... What?
What the fuck?
And the Palmach.
Okay, I don't know what the Palmach one is. I haven't heard of that one, okay? But the other 3... The what?
Yes. Plugot HaMachatz, sorry.
Okay, I don't know who... Can you... Actually, I'm curious. Can you spell that in English for me so I can look it up?
Spell that in English.
Plugot HaMachatz. Let me see if that shows anything.
Let me see if I can get something that will...
Palmach.
Although, it's possible that I'm saying 4 because one of them was a unification.
No, you're not. Okay, I understand. Never mind, I understand. Okay. So the Palmach, what you're talking about here, I can't pronounce it. This is a subdivision of the Haganah. Okay, it's a part of it. So I am aware of the 3 forces that you're talking about, the Haganah, the Irgun, and the Lehi. I can't pronounce it like you do. But counter to what you're saying, where you're saying that nobody said the Jews didn't have a cohesive identity, blah, blah, blah. That's not my understanding of it. There was actually a decent amount of fighting between the 3 of these different organizations. This is why eventually they got rolled all into one, the Israeli Defense Force. But some of the...
you misunderstood what I said.
It sounded like you said nobody claimed that there was a division of the Israeli people because of the existence of the 3 different security forces. No. Okay, I'm sorry. Can you restate what you said?
Okay. I said, even though there was internal conflict between 3 organizations who were supposedly wanting to lead the Jewish population in Israel under the British Mandate, no one looking back at history is saying that the Jewish community in Israel didn't have a unified existence because 3 competing organizations were fighting to represent
that arrow thing.
It is an inaccurate reading of history.
Sure, that might be fine, but one, all the people that went to Israel at the time, or Mandate Palestine at the time, were there, one, for a common purpose, number 1. And number 2, one is, number 2, my understanding is they were all represented essentially by the Yishuv, right? From 1920 onwards, I believe the Yishuv was the government given to, or that was ran by and represented the people, the Jewish people in that area, right? Okay. Yishuv. And the those 3 defense forces, I believe, all worked as part of the Yishuv, right? Ooh, the term became used in the 1880s. This might have actually predated 1920 by quite a bit. Sorry, but Yishuv was the government that the Jewish people there had prior to the Declaration of Independence of Israel.
Calling it a government is, I know you don't mean government, but it's quite misleading to call it government.
Okay, can you explain how it's misleading?
Because if you call it the government, that kind of implies, the same, wait, I need to calm myself down before I get a bit aggressive, and I don't want to get aggressive, so.
Oh, that's a first.
I can feel it rising.
That's a first. She's trying to be chill.
Okay. The issue was not... Oh, wait. I need more time, sorry.
Wow, actually, Ken, thanks for getting 10 subs.